Hey, fans of the garage, of the motor, of Camaros, of whatever else that you're tuning in for. Happy to have you back. It's now Friday. I didn't get a whole lot done yesterday physically, but I did a lot of reading. I read through my install notes for the crank scraper and windage tray right here. Super simple on that. What else did I read? The line lock, I read through, and that'll be a little bit more difficult. I might have to see about getting a tube bender to bend the brake lines so I don't kink them. I read the install packets for both of my gauges here. This one is for the AFR / bottle pressure gauge, and it's got all these settings you can do to shut off the solenoids, which if you bad on pressure or fuel pressure, bottle pressure, or whatever, I may do those, but I might just use them as a reference. And then there's the nitrous, the line lock with the roll control, and then the purge is in there as well. So, and I got the exhaust cut right there, but that's gonna wait till this all gets back in. Because that's going to have to run up through the tunnel, the little gap beside the transmission, come up and mount somewhere. So anyway, what I got going now, you can see I got things more disassembled. I am attempting, or going to attempt to fit my gauges and run some wires through my dashboard to eventually mount the gauges. And what I did was enlarge this hole right there. You can see it used to be, this little connector was right there. So there's a little hole right here, and then this was closed. So I cut this in here to hopefully be able to get the wires around the top of the dash and then down and then out this way. Because they're going to have to go, let's see. So that'll fit over that, and then the gauges will go right there. So they take up that dead space in the dash right there. I might even have to cut that. I'm not sure yet. But they have wires on the back of them, obviously. This one is much smaller. This is just for the fuel pressure. The gauges themselves are the same size, but this one will have not a whole lot behind it. But this one's got this whole big pigtail of stuff on the back of it, so definitely need some space behind there to get all those through. So I've been doing that. I got the radio and everything pulled out here. It's just looking ridiculous right now because I needed to be able to move this a little bit, and I can't get a whole lot of motion out of it. The fuse panel's in there. Here's the little the map of it. I probably am going to end up just tapping into the big pink wire hanging right there for 12-volt switched ignition for the powering this stuff, but I might try to go through this chart or go through the fuse box if I can. I would like to use that ignition right there on the back of that fuse box here. It'd be down in that corner next to, to the left of that number 5 right there, I believe is what it's trying to tell me. But I'm not 100% sure. So I'll check that out a little more. If it's possible to use, I'll use it. If not, I'll just tap into power elsewhere. But admittedly, that's my least favorite part, is getting all that stuff planned out. I don't mind the actual wiring. It's just all the mapping and everything, and then making sure everything fits nice. I also got a bunch of cuttings to vacuum up. That's why the shop vac is sitting right here. So yeah, I'm gonna vacuum that, and then just because it's easier and I don't have to do it in the car right now, I've got my intake manifold up here with the fuel pressure lead on it, and I'm gonna solder some extensions onto these wires and then heat shrink them and make it all nice. So when this is on the motor in the car, the wires will be able to run. I think I'm going to try to There's a bulkhead connector right down. You can't really see it without the light. Yeah. It's right behind. Come on, phone. It's right behind here, like right at the end of my finger against the firewall. There's one bolt and then it just pops out this way. So I'm hoping to run my wires through there. So what I'll need to do is put some extensions on my fuel pressure wires and then see how long my nitrous solenoid wires are for the fuel solenoid. And then also eventually we'll have to do the same for the purge valve and the nitrous solenoid itself. So yeah, that'll be a lot of wiring, admittedly. And if I'm honest, I'm getting a little bit intimidated by like when I have the motor and stuff in, like that could be multiple weeks worth of time to just get that all situated. Because I mean, I don't know, maybe it could. That stuff's a little bit more intimidating to me. Hopefully it'll come together really well. But yeah, that's probably my most nerve-wracking part so far. That's going to be way more nerve-wracking to me than getting the correct push rod length in this, because I know how to do that. I'm not too worried about screwing up another cam bearing because I know how to do that. I'm a little bit apprehensive of what my clearance will be against the piston from the valves when I have the correct push rods in there with those big rockers. But I'm not even afraid of notching the pistons if I need to make valve relief, because the heads are already off and the motor's out, so it's no big deal. But this wiring stuff is just like, ugh, yeah, it's harder for me. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not mad about it. I'm just slightly not even apprehensive. I'm just like, oh man, it's a big job. So yeah, I'm gonna do a little bit of soldering here on the bench. While it's nice and accessible and easy, I'll just extend these wires with some wires that I got here. I picked this up. I picked this up when I started this build from Harbor Freight, and I gave them my emails to sign up for their promotionals, so I think I got like 5% off or 10% off or $5 off or something. This is a butane soldering iron, and my goodness, it works well. Just open the flux, dip it in there to kind of clean the tip, flux the end of the wire, and then it gets hot quick. It stays hot. You can turn it off and on easily. It's super portable. Just fill it up on the end with butane, and yeah, it's so slick. It makes soldering so much easier, and I'm definitely going to have to do some in the car at some point to power these gauges. So not having the wires, all you pretty much have to do is make sure that you have a place where you can set this down that's not going to melt or burn anything, and then you can kind of finagle yourself origami style in under the dash, and you can just kind of boop, boop, boop. So that part will actually be pretty enjoyable, I think. So yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling a little bit, but there's a lot to do currently, and I'm waiting on Summit. They're out for delivery right now with my push rods, the correct cam plate, the new cam bearing, the piston installer, and then there was one. I think I ordered the wrong bolts for the oil pump mounts, so I'll have to exchange those, but that's super easy. And I thought there was one other thing in that order as well, but if it was pretty small. So yeah, good stuff overall. Nothing bad. Just a lot. It seems like now there's a lot ahead of me. So, but once I get the motor complete and sitting on the subframe and the clutch on and the transmission on, all these headers and stuff, and then the wiring harness back on the motor, then it will definitely feel way more plug and play with this junk that's going on in here. And all that stuff that I just mentioned, the wiring harness, the clutch, the exhaust, everything to do with the engine getting back on the subframe. I'm really not nervous about that whatsoever, so I'm more excited. So all that will be good, and I think it'll serve to help offset the difficulty that I'm going through in here. But I will say the positive part was I didn't have that dash off for the longest time. And I was like, oh, I don't know how to do it. It's probably a bunch of wires back there. I had the screws out forever. But I just wiggled it back and forth, and check out that connector right there. Everything just pins into that. So props to the GM people who designed that. I really like that. That worked very well. And then behind it, there was enough clear space not on that wiring harness. So I just got in there with my Dremel and made my little opening for the jumble of wires here. So, all right, I'm gonna do a little bit of soldering while the getting's good. Got my cola. I actually bought some RC cola for the first time in my whole life. I was gonna just get some Pepsi, and I've never bought RC before, so I was like, oh, I'll try it. you know what? It's not that good. It's pretty bland. Not that there's nothing exceptional about it. It's kind of right up the middle. So, yeah, if you like RC Cola, I don't know, kind of weird, I guess. So, anyway, I'm gonna use this sweet little soldering tool that Jenny's grandpa gave to her, and hold my wires together, and then I'm gonna zap them with this and heat them up and shrink them, and everyone's gonna be happy. So, yeah, come back at you in a bit. Oh, and maybe someone will get here soon. I think the window for them being here just opened. Oh yeah, it said 1:30 to 5:30, and it is 2:02 right now. So you never know; they might get here early. Boom! Yeah. Hey, garage people! It's me again. It's Friday afternoon. Made a little progress in spite of myself. So I got all that crap vacuumed up, and I got my little window in there. I haven't put my gauges in the dash yet, but I think I got it as far apart as I need to. I was looking at these here, and I'm either going to use this port on the fuse box, which is on the far side, I think, if I can find it, or I'm just going to use the pink wires. And then I got to figure out how this relay goes in, because this is what powers the oxygen sensor, I believe. In any case, that'll be doable. I do believe. Oh, that's the power for that. Never mind. So in the meantime, I need to buy wire for these two solenoids, and then for this solenoid as well. So when I go to the hardware store, I'll do that. I used up my wire to lengthen these three wires for my fuel sender. I got red, white, and black there to match up with the three that were in there, so that was a good way to use that wire. And then I also used the rest of that spool that I had to lengthen my roll control wire as well, so when I mount that, I'll have enough. I just need to get some red, or, I mean, it doesn't need to be red, I guess, but some wire to mount that as well. And then here's the activation switch, which will just go in line with that. And then I'm using the momentary switch on the Hurst for the nitrous, so that'll control that solenoid. But on the exciting side, I got my Summit package today. And it showed up, which was awesome. Got my valley cover gasket with the new knock sensor grommets to fit in there, so I'm going to install those. And then I got my cam plate with the flat face on it. You can just see it right there. Yep, no indents. So I'll put that on here with my ARPs. I got one new cam bearing, so I'll throw that in after I check the most important part, the push rod length. So I got some awesome push rods from Summit. They are 11/32, so they're fat diameter and they're thick wall, so they shouldn't deflect at all. Made in the USA, and these are the long ones, 7.5 inches. The standard length is 7/400, and they actually come out to about 7/385. And I could only get about a quarter of a turn, and there was still lash in the valve train. So I definitely need, I think, all the length I can get. So I'm gonna stick with those, and hopefully they'll come out right. And if they don't, I'm gonna put one of these washers under each of these little pedestals here, and that will take up a little bit of the gap. I'm going to measure this with my caliper just to see how thick that is. Hopefully I won't need them, but if I need them, I have them. So either way. And then this is my piston ring installer as well. The only downside is I ordered the wrong bolts there for my oil pump. So I'm going to go through the little process of exchanging them for the correct ARP bolts, so that I can mount the oil pump after this valve train stuff is sorted out. And I'm going to put all this wiring stuff away because I need to go to the hardware store to buy some more wire spool, just some generic black stuff probably, and then maybe some red stuff if I can get my hands on it, just for the positive and negative for this roll control, then also the power for these gauges here, and then there's a couple extra ones that need to go in as well. So I'm going to just purchased some bulk wiring to deal with that. So I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup here, switch gears slightly. I can move this back under here, and then I can mess around with my engine a little bit, and hopefully these push rods will work out for me. So I will keep you guys posted with the results of that, because if that works, I will check my piston-to-valve clearance once more with this clay here, and then hopefully we will be set. So yeah, good stuff. Thanks a lot, Summit. Hey, garage people! Coming at you, as per usual. Let me flip you around here. It's Friday evening. I got a drink going here, of course. Girlfriend is washing our awesome remote control, not really, but the Roombas. They're actually Sharknadoes, so, you know, they're high quality stuff. Anyway, I got the motor set up here. Got the cylinder head back off already because I wanted to show this. This is the clay cross section of my #1 piston after I got extra long push rods from Summit. Not extra long, but longer. I'm tight lashing them because the LS7 lifters like closer to 75, maybe even 80, 90 thousandths of lash, or of preload, excuse me, rather than, you know, some people run like short travel lifters with like 30 thousandths preload. But I'm running LS7 lifters. I had nothing but success with them at DRM, so I'm using them again. I got my 1/8 ratio rockers here, which, as you probably know, because you're experts, is a step up from these 1/7 ratios. And so what was really paramount was making sure I have piston-to-valve clearance, and I've got tons. I could probably have run a bigger cam if I really wanted to. I didn't. That was not the goal. This build was based around this Brian Tooley Racing cam. So that is great to see that I have the clearance, especially with the high lift that I'm going to get with my 1/8 rockers. But I'll be able to sleep very well at night knowing I've got that much clearance. So if the RPMs go high, I will not at all worry about crashing a valve into the piston, especially once I get the head gasket installed, because as you can see, these measurements were taken without a head gasket. So there will be more distance between the two to take up that gap. So the moral of the story is I got 11-to-1 compression. I did not need to notch my pistons whatsoever. Funny enough, I had actually tapped them down while the piston was at top dead center, just to see where the pistons hit, or where the valves hit on the piston. You can kind of see that little tiny mark right there. Yes, you can definitely see that. And that's from the exhaust valve hitting the piston. And I was like, oh my gosh, is that... Yeah, and there's the intake right there. And I was like, oh my gosh, are they that close where they're going to be kissing without a head gasket? But yeah, then I remembered that I tapped them down for my own knowledge. So yeah, no worries there whatsoever. We got plenty of clearance. We got compression. We got high ratio roller rockers. We got nice, thick, fat push rods that won't bend at all. We got a big, fat Brian Tooley cam with some V2 lobes on it that should be very gentle to the valve train. Got all new lifters and buckets, so they should run super smoothly. And if you can see the wipe pattern on the valve stems here, they aren't perfectly centered, but we don't live in a perfect world. So I'm not too worried about it because the width of the wipe pattern was only about 45 thousandths, and I think they say about if you're under 60 thousandths or so, you're good. So I'm well within that range. I've got the rollers on the rockers right here instead of the stalkers, which are just these flat little pedestals which don't roll at all, as you can see. So I got that going for me in terms of longevity. Obviously, I'm going to be changing the oil all the time. And when these valves are at their max lift, aka when, let's scoot this way, when this is pushed down like this, that valve moves from the outside of its swipe range to the inside of its swipe range. So at maximum lift, that roller tip in the end of the rocker is as close to the center of the valve stem as it's going to be. So that's exactly where we want it. We want when it's applying maximum force, aka at its full lift, when it's all the way pushing that valve open, we want it to be as centered as possible. And thanks to our checking springs and our longer push rods, plus a little help from a Sharpie to mark the ends there, we were able to verify everything we need. So that means we can start to have some real fun. I'm gonna take some pictures of this, what do you call this? This evidence, I guess, of this clay, just for fun, so I can have that in my files of stuff to show anyone who is curious about this engine. And then the real fun starts, right? We can take this back off, we can take this piston out, cam comes out, crank comes out. I can put my new bearing in, lube it all up, and the cam goes in for the final time, and then the crank can go on and get torqued, and we can put our windage tray and crank scraper on. We can get the rear cover all happy and centered once the crank is in there for good. So yeah, folks, it's official. As of right now, this engine is going to go back together for real with the parts that are here. With that Summit order, you can see I got my little grommets in there for my valley cover to fit the knock sensors. All the pistons are ready to go. I got my installer. I just got to put some oil on it and lube it up. The lifters will get soaked in some oil and coated in cam lube. Got my head studs. The cam's going to fit, so I can put the old cam in the box for storage, because the new cam is definitely not going back in there. Got the lifter buckets, the bolts, new lifters. I can drill and pin my balancer with the tool that I got from Todd at DRM, which is right there. I can use Jason's tool to take out these checking springs and put my real valve springs back on. And ladies and gentlemen, this engine is going to go from 0 to hero real quick. It's in full mock-up stage right now, and we're going to undo all of that and put it into final assembly mode. So I'll rock this stuff out, clean it up a little bit, and then we will rock and roll. So yeah, next time you tune in, hopefully we'll have a full short block, if not a long block, together. And then the real fun will start. So yeah, see you shortly. All right, Garagers. It's Friday night, and I'm packing it in. Got the workbench cleaned up. Got the car put away on the lift, locked in. Got the shelves cleaned up. Got Tony Angelo on. So, tomorrow, this stuff's all going to come off. This piston's going to come out. The rings will go back on it, and it will get set aside for later use. I'm going to port and polish my oil pump to make sure there are no sharp edges on the inside of the channel where the pickup goes on, so the flow is all nice and happy. I'll pull that front cover off and take the gears out so I can wash it and clean it. And then I'll pull the cam out of the block, pull the crank out, and put that new cam bearing in, which I have right here. So I'll have a full new set of cam bearings, and then the cam can go in for the first time for the last time. And I can't put my rear cover, or I won't put my rear cover on yet because I'm waiting for an improved racing order that should be here on Monday. And they'll have that little barbell that's going to replace the plastic one in there. I'm going to put a billet aluminum one in there with some O-rings on it that'll make sure that dirty oil never cycles through this engine, that it always goes through the filter. So I'll hold on to the little barbell just for safekeeping. Maybe use it, maybe not. But I'll put aside my timing set and pull all that apart. New bearing will go in, cam will go back in, crank will go in, and everything will get torqued. And then we'll go about installing my crank scraper and windage tray. So that'll be a lot of fun. We can do that. And then we can put the the top end on along with this timing set again will go on. The top end will go on with my new push rods and all the new rockers and everything. We can fit our valve covers, all that fun stuff. We can put the seals in the front and rear mains. What we are having to wait for, though, is these bolts that I'm going to send in. These are the incorrect ones, and I'm going to get some ARP bolts on the way for my oil pump. I need 4 of them, those 2 holes and those 2 holes right there. So I'll get those on the way, and that should take care of it. I'm just so stoked that these push rods did what I wanted them to do. I'm glad I got the long ones. I maybe could get by with 25 thousandths less, so 475s instead of 7475 instead of 7500s. But those ones were on back order until like April. And then the next biggest ones were the 7450s, and those I think would be a little short because I want to have those lifters nice and preloaded at, at least 50% of their travel. And this should get me, I'm at 1 1/3 turns. That's 48 thousandths plus, what's 48 divided by 3, 12, 36, 20, no, it's like 15. Yeah, we'll go with 15. So 15 plus 48 is 58, 65. So it'll be about 70 thousandths preload on those lifters. And that's fucking A, right about perfect. Oh man, I'm loving how all this is coming together. These push rods are going to be great. The wipe pattern on the stem is, like I said, slightly to the exhaust side, but that's good because it centers when it's at max lift. So we are sitting so pretty here, folks. I'm real stoked. So we'll wait for these bolts to come in, and in the meantime, we'll do everything to this engine that we can besides get the oil pump and front cover on. So that means all the timing gear, everything on the bottom end, besides the oil pickup and the pan. And then also we'll do the top end. We'll get the rear cover and everything ready to go, but not installed because we are, again, waiting for that improved racing order to come in so we can put that dog bone in there and then get our little girdle for the oil pickup as well. So that will be here Monday at the late end, and hopefully these Summit bolts will be in right about Monday or Tuesday as well, and then we'll have a full engine. So we'll make some progress tomorrow. I will actually be out of town Sunday and Monday doing some Super Bowl stuff and meeting up with the aforementioned state champ Mitch Valley, among other coaches, to have a preseason meeting for track and field. So, yeah, fun stuff coming up. I'm going to pack it in tonight, but then tomorrow we will start disassembling and reassembling. So this motor is good to go, folks. She going scream. Yes. Hell yeah. Catch you later.